In this unit, we will learn how to create shapes as well as lines and grids. So follow me. In order to access the tools, you need to go on the left-hand side of Adobe Illustrator on your toolbar. You will see a little icon of a rectangle tool. If you select that, it allows you to draw a rectangle by clicking, holding your click and dragging it in order to create your shape. Once you're happy with your shape, release your click and the shape will be drawn on your canvas. Another way around will be to select your shape and click anywhere on your canvas. That will bring you up this pop-up panel which allows you to define the dimensions. So the width, let's say we want 500 pixels, and the height as well, so 200 pixels. You can link and unlink the proportions by using this icon here, the little chain, which means if I'm gonna go ahead now and change the width, it's automatically gonna change the height. If you press OK, your shape will appear on your canvas. Now if you want to draw a square, one way around it would be to click somewhere around and link the proportions and make it 300 by 300 pixels, press OK and get a square. Or another way would be to click and drag your click in order to create a rectangle, but hold at the same time the shift key down, which is gonna keep the width and the height exactly the same, so it's gonna become a lovely square. Now if you click and hold your click on the rectangle tool, you will be able to see a collection of tools just underneath it. And you can release your click while you are on this arrow bar here on the side, which is gonna make a new panel out of the tools that are in this group. So the second tool is the rounded rectangle tool. If I'm gonna click and drag my click, I will be able to create a rectangle, but this time with rounded corners. And if I click anywhere on my canvas, again I get this pop-up panel which allows me to define the dimensions of my object if I want to constrain the proportions or not with the little chain. And I can also define the radius of the corner, so how curvy I want my corners to be. So let's put 30. And here you can see now a new shape being created. Of course, if you hold the shift key down, you create again a square, or if you define the proportions to be equal on this panel here. Our next tool is the ellipse tool. It works exactly the same way, so you click, you drag your click and you create your shape. And if you want a circle, you hold the shift key down while drawing the shape. If you click anywhere on your canvas, again you define the height and the width of your shape, as well as if you want to link or unlink the proportions. I'm gonna quickly grab my black arrow to select all of the shapes and press backspace or delete on Windows to empty my canvas and be able to have space for more shapes. The next tool is the polygon tool. As you can imagine, it works the same way, but you can see how it rotates while I'm creating it. If you want it to be in parallel with the canvas, hold the shift key down and it's gonna keep the top and the bottom parts parallel with the canvas. Now if I want to define like how many sides I want my polygon to have, I'm just gonna click and get the panel that defines the radius, so how big or small my polygon is going to be and how many sides I want it to have. So let's press 12 and here you can see the result. Of course, a triangle is also a polygon, so if I'm gonna go ahead and add just 3 corners, 3 sides, it's actually gonna create a triangle. The next tool is the star tool. I can draw just by clicking and dragging my click, or I can again click anywhere and define the inner and the outer radius. So this is the outer is the bigger number and the inner radius is radius 2, and how many points I wanted to have. Correspondingly is gonna draw a star. And of course, if you hold the shift key down, it's gonna keep it nice and parallel with your canvas, else you will be able to draw it and rotate it at the same time while drawing it. I'm gonna go ahead and close this group of tools, and I'm also gonna clean my canvas again. Let's discover the second kind of group of tools that allow you to draw lines. It's a line segment tool just here. It allows you to click, drag your click and create a line. Now as you can see, it's transparent because it doesn't have either a fill or a stroke. So I'm gonna go backwards and switch here between the fill and the stroke so I can have a stroke instead, and draw again my line. So click, drag your click and release it, and then you should be able to see the line that you just drawn. Of course, if you hold the shift key down, it's gonna be a horizontal line or vertical or 45 degrees. Or else you just click, drag your click on the direction that you actually want to draw the line. If I click anywhere on the canvas, I'm able to access the options panel, which allow me to define the length of my line, as well as the angle of it, so let's say 10 degrees. Just press OK and the line should be drawn on your canvas. In this case, it was a tiny line, so let's go with 100 so we are able to see it. Another way is just to click anywhere on the canvas and you should be able to access the tool options and adjust the length of your line, so let's say 500 pixels, the angle of it, so 20 degrees, and once you're happy with the adjustments, you press OK and the line will be drawn on your canvas. As per the Shapes tool, you can also click and hold your click and access more segment tools. And with releasing your click on the little arrow on the side will allow you to grab the panel and move it anywhere on your canvas to have it easier accessible. The arc tool is a second tool that allows you to create arcs. Clicking, holding your click and dragging it again to create the arc. With a shift key, you create a proportioned arc. If you click anywhere on the canvas, you can define the length on the x-axis and on the y-axis. You can define if you want to have an open path or a closed one. Let's try the closed so you can also see the outcome. I'm gonna go ahead and change to 300 pixels by, let's say, 500 pixels. And on which axis you want the base to go along. So I'm gonna select Y. And also the slope, so the kind of curve that we have. So you can adjust all the parameters of the arc using that panel. You see the arc looks way different than before. The next tool is the spiral tool. Again, it works by clicking, dragging your click and draw your shape. Holding the shift key down will keep it parallel again to your canvas. If I click somewhere now, I will see that I can actually define the radius as the decay, and I can also change, let's say, the segments and of course the style, so which side I want it to go towards. And here is like my little outcome. Again, I'm cleaning quickly the canvas, selecting all the shapes with my black arrow, pressing backspace or delete. The next tool is the rectangular grid tool. It allows you to create some grids that you can either color or carry on editing afterwards, or have them even as backgrounds. Sometimes it's quite engaging. Holding the shift key down allows you to create a perfect grid of squares. And if you click anywhere on your canvas, you can define the width of the grid as well as the height of it, the number of dividers horizontally, so let's put 10, the skew, so if you want them to be equally placed or like having them differently placed within your area. And then let's do 7 and a bit on the left. And let's have a look. So you can see that the grid is not anymore equal and how the lines are placed differently on the horizontal axis as well as on the vertical one. The last tool here is the polar grid tool. It creates a little grid within an ellipse or a circle if you hold the shift key down. And again, you can define more in detail all those lines and the grid within it just by clicking and adjusting the different options such as the height, the width, the number of dividers, concentric and radial. Once you adjust them, let me quickly swap some numbers here so we can see the difference. You can see how your grid has adjusted to the new options. All the shapes might feel a bit basic at the moment, but we are going step by step to learn how we could use them in order to create more engaging and complicated graphics. In the next unit, I will show you how to transform objects.